tea time with T. Guess what? I bought a new mug. Isn't she super cute and fancy? Oh my God, I have a visitor today. Say hi, Rainbow. Sorry. But anywho, I just did my tea, so the steam is all over the place, so I'm gonna let it cool off before I take my first sip. But I hope you guys are having a great day, and thank you so much again for joining me. Today is chapter 7. How exciting. I can't believe I'm already on my 7th chapter. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the last 6. It's been a great journey. I've gotten a lot of great responses from every chapter, and everyone keeps telling me that I keep getting better and better at talking in front of my phone, which is great to know. When I rewatched chapter 1, I noticed, you could tell how nervous I was because my eyes kept twitching and like my lashes just kept going all kinds of crazy, and it's super embarrassing. But anywho, as you can tell, I like to talk with my hands, which you guys already know that, but that's something I do too when I get nervous, and I don't know why I'm nervous already. But I'm ready to take my sip. Are you? Do you guys have tea? Do you have coffee? Do you have, I don't know, a shot or some wine? But let's take our sip. Super warm, but delish. Okay, so today chapter 7 is about me discovering that I am an empath. Not necessarily being empathetic, but being an empath. I did take a lot of notes this time because I really wanted to make sure I was discussing what empath truly is compared to being empathetic. I actually have the definition of that. So about empathy. Empathy allows you to understand the level of pain and happiness that a person is going through. Empathy, or being an empath, you sense and feel emotions as if they are part of your own experience. So I feel it, I sense it, I go through it. Not just putting myself in someone else's shoes, but I'm actually like living it. Super crazy, I know. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory on how this kind of happened. I was on Pinterest one night while I was in Fresno, and I use Pinterest a lot. It's kind of my go-to source. And I'm scrolling through, and I read all these, like, there's different quotes that kept popping up about being empath, and I was like, I wonder what that is. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I was like, OMG, like, this is so me. And then my husband, it kind of was brought up, and he was like, oh, what are you doing? You know, as I'm looking through Pinterest, and I was like, oh, like, I just discovered this crazy thing. And he was like, what is it? Well, then he went down this crazy rabbit hole and found this article about, I don't remember what it is, like 7 signs that you're empath. And he was even like mind blown. I was crying because I was like, oh my God, all these years I knew I was different. I never understood why I was different. I've been teased even from family members, everything about my emotional side of me. And reading it through an article, I was like, wow, like, I'm not as crazy or weird or different as I thought I was. Like, now my whole entire life makes sense. And since then, I've been trying to read up on it and study it and educate myself as much as I can so I can get a better understanding as to how should I be living my life as an empath. So I'm going to go ahead and go through a few stories with y'all. So first thing, my brother and sister used to call me Touch Cry Kid. And they used to call me this because every time they would touch me, I would start crying. And I mean, we were young, like I had to have been like between 5 and 7. And they thought it was funny. They teased me, touch cry kid, touch cry kid. They knew that they didn't even have to touch me and I would start crying. I was just very emotional, very sensitive. I didn't know why. I just, would start crying. It was really annoying. I used to cry more when they used to call me Touch Cry Kid, because who wants to be teased by their older siblings? I know I definitely didn't. And then another story is, this one like sticks with me, and it's been sticking with me for obviously all these years. my family and I remember we were watching The Fox and the Hound. And this was all of us, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad. We were all watching Fox and the Hound. I can't even tell you what year this was or how old I was. But I remember crying hysterical. And I don't remember Copper or Todd. I don't remember who left who. I haven't watched that movie since. But one of them left the other. And I remember crying hysterical. Like, oh my God. I remember my mom telling me, Tiara, if you don't stop crying, we're gonna turn off the movie. And I was like, okay. Rainbow doesn't like me crying, so that's why I do apologize for all this background noise today. But I remember mom being like, if you don't stop crying, like, we're gonna have to turn off this movie. And I was like, okay. And I couldn't stop crying. I'm crying hysterical watching this scene in the movie. Like, oh my God, they're torn apart. These best friends are no longer able to see each other. And I was crying and crying and crying. And my mom turned off the movie. We never even turned it back on because it was that bad where I just could not stop crying. And like I said, I haven't seen that movie since. What the heck? So let's see. Another one was with my siblings again. When my brother and my sister would get in trouble, I would always jump in, or I would start crying, or I would beg my mom or my dad to leave them alone. Like, I would start yelling, like, leave them alone. Like, oh my God, like, right. I would just start crying. And so my brother and my sister would never get, what's the right word? I don't want to say punished because that sounds horrible, but they wouldn't get disciplined because I would always step in and start crying hysterical because I could not help, like, I couldn't be there and witness my brother and my sister getting in trouble. And the ironic thing is that when I would get in trouble, they would literally, I remember one time I was in the bedroom with my mom and, you know, she's disciplining me. And I remember my brother and my sister cracked the door open, and they're like literally standing there watching me, and they don't do anything. And I remember thinking, like, save me. Like, I save you guys all the time. Why aren't you saving me? But, so yeah, I know this is super random because I could just go in story to story, but I knew I wouldn't remember everything, so I had to write this one down. So with that being said, when I read up on being an empath, I was like, oh my God, like, this makes sense. Why I'm crying hysterical with Todd and Copper, like, losing their friendship and they're not gonna be able to see each other again. When my brother and my sister are being disciplined, I'm crying and feeling their pain of being disciplined. Why my brother and my sister used to call me touch cry kid because I would already feel the pain or the emotions of what they would do to me, even if it wasn't like hidden. Don't get me wrong, my brother and my sister did not abuse me. It would even just be like a little touch and I would start crying. But that's pretty much what being an empath means, that I don't necessarily only sorry, I just want to make sure this is still recording, so it stopped for a little bit, so I don't want to keep going. There, we're good. Okay. It's not only that I feel for someone's pain, I am actually feeling their pain. And movies, for instance, this is not really bad, but one of the most recent Marvel movies, I'm not a fan. Please don't kill me for it. I don't know it. I don't know superheroes. The only superhero I know is Iron Man, and he's the only one I've seen like all the movies. But the most recent Marvel, the one with all of them, when Spider-Man dies, I am literally crying hysterical in the movie theater. Like, crying. I couldn't breathe. I'm hyperventilating. I remember when I left the movie theater, I was so pissed. I was like, I told Sean, I was like, why didn't you tell me about this? Like, he knows, like, I can't watch movies that have to do with death or heartache or pain, just any of that. And that's been something I've been trying to avoid for, God, now like over 5 years. Because emotionally, I can't do it. When I'm crying, I'm not just like, no, like, I am sobbing out of control. And I never knew why. I just thought, you know, I'm sensitive. It's something that I read up on. People who are empath usually get told they're too sensitive. I cannot tell you how many times people have told me I'm too sensitive. I mean, from family members, from ex-boyfriends to friends, from even like coworkers and managers. I mean, I've been told pretty much my entire life that I'm too sensitive. And do you know how hurtful and painful that is to hear? Like, I can't control it. Like, I'm sorry I'm emotional. I'm sorry I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm frustrated. I cry when I'm angry. Like, I just do. And if I see someone in pain or going through something, I feel it. So going through this self-discovery right now, I've only discovered this, I only read this stuff on Pinterest and then Google within the last month. So it's all still new to me, and I want to buy books on it because I really want to educate myself on it. But it's like crazy. It's like, wow, like everything I've gone through emotionally makes sense. I just thought I was sensitive. I just thought I was, it had to do maybe my anxiety, or I don't know, like even one point, because it states that people who are empath have a sensitivity to sound, so any noises, to sense, to touch. I started thinking maybe I was like autistic. No, like I am dead serious. I had talked to my mom like maybe like 4 months ago, and I was like, Mom, like I wonder if I have like a slight, I don't know, form or hint of it, because I'm like, why am I so sensitive to things? And now reading this, I'm like, oh, now that makes sense. Like at night, I have to, lower the radio down or the TV down if Sean's watching TV. Like I can't do it. To touch, I remember when we first started dating, like let's say he'd be rubbing me, and if he'd be rubbing me in the same spot, I used to have to be like, stop. Like I couldn't do it. I'd be like, no, like you're getting me anxious. Like you can't do it. But now it makes sense because it says like our nerves are on like extreme overload. And I'm like, oh my God, like everything makes sense. But I'm gonna keep moving on. Something else that it states that empaths do is fix people. I am 100% guilty of that. I have tried to fix my family. I have tried to fix ex-boyfriends. I have tried to fix friendships over and over and over again. I have tried to fix literally anyone, and it's hard and it's tough, and I feel like I really don't ever succeed, and then I get drained and exhausted. For instance, I'm gonna kind of go back to when I started kind of not going through depression again, but I guess kind of a depression started happening around my birthday last year, so November of 2019. I was driving back, or I wasn't because I don't drive the freeway, but I was coming back from Napa and Fresno for my birthday last year, and I received a text message from someone stating that one of my good friends was posting all kinds of like emotional stuff on Twitter, and that everyone kept trying to get a hold of this person, but this person wasn't answering their call, wasn't responding to text message, nothing. And the person who messaged me was like, I'm worried, can you please reach out to them, find out what's going on? And I'm like, okay. Like we were literally on the freeway on the way back, and I'm calling, I'm texting, freaking the fuck out, like, oh my God, is my friend suicidal? I mean, I literally everything in the world popped in my head and in my chest, and I had the worst anxiety. Thank God I have this friend on Find Friends, so we were able to track where this person lived. So we drove to their house, and I spoke to my friend for about a good, I don't remember, like a half hour or something. And mind you, it was in the middle of the night in November, so it was cold already. And I'm talking to my friend, and my friend just wasn't doing well. I was having, emotional issues, and, their mental health wasn't wasn't doing well. And so that happened. And once I got in the car, I was crying hysterical. I had a crazy anxiety attack. My husband's driving. I have a friend in the back seat who is there with me, and I'm literally like crying and shaking and feeling like throwing up. And I know I say throw up a lot, but that's kind of, I don't throw up ever. I don't know why, but I just don't throw up, but that's usually how I feel. And so that was like the first part of it. Then I can't even tell you, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometime after that at work, I had one of my co-workers who wasn't doing well have a conversation with me, pulled me aside in a separate room, and pretty much tell me that they had suicidal thoughts. I hadn't gone through that. I mean, one of my good family members has gone through that, so I've gone through that, like in regards to like my family, but in the workplace, I have never dealt with that in my leadership. So this co-worker is telling me what they're going through, and that they have had suicidal thoughts, and I'm sitting there, and one side of my brain is telling me, oh my God, you're a leader, you need to report this. What the heck are you doing? Like, get up and go seek help. Like, this is like, go get help. And the other part of me is like, but this person's trusting you. This person's trusting you with something so scary and vulnerable to them. Don't ruin their trust. Be there. It's a cry for help. Be there for them. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to everything, and my brain is going, right, the little freaking conscience on these shoulders, like telling me, okay, go seek help. No, stay there and be there for them. And I remember when I walked out of that room, I didn't know what to do, and I had another coworker who wanted to talk to me about something else, and I just started crying to them, and they're like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I couldn't say anything, obviously. I went home. I remember I called my husband, and I was like crying hysterical. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I should have reported this. Oh my God. Like, I don't know. And, I remember I called one of a manager, but they were my friend, and they were like, oh my God, you should have reported this. You need to report this. So then I felt even worse. I ended up having to call out the next day, and I had to try to call another manager because I needed their advice. And I finally got a hold of this manager who I'm really close with, and they're like, you did everything you could. Yes, we need to report it, but you're not in this position to have known that. You don't get trained that. Like, you did everything you could. You were there for them. And I remember this manager telling me the reason why people come to you is because you're an empath. And that was the first time I heard that word, but it didn't really register. I didn't really think about it. And this manager was like, Tiara, like, this is why everyone comes to talk to you, and people open their heart and their souls to you because they feel comfortable and they feel safe and they feel, they know you're a good listener. And I was like, I know, but at that point, so these two incidents, I was mentally and emotionally drained. I was sick. I couldn't live. I couldn't do anything. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm trying to deal with my own mental health, and here I am, have two people who literally need my help, and I don't know what to do. After that, things didn't get any better. I know I've discussed some stuff about my dad, but I haven't really given you guys the full picture of it. Long story short, my dad moved in with my husband and I because of some issues with my brother. He used to live with my brother, and I had already known it wasn't a good idea, but maybe me, I was like, no, I can't let my dad be homeless. No, like, my sister lives with my mom, my brother lives with my dad. I'm the only one that hasn't had a parent in at this point, it was like 10, 11 years. And I'm like, no, like, I'm gonna have to do this. So he moved in, and let me kind of backtrack. So my dad was an amazing father when we were children. We did everything together. He was so great. We went jump roping, bike riding. I mean, we did everything. He took us to the circus. I mean, literally everything when we were children. But as we got older, that kind of was distant. Pretty much my dad wasn't active in my life all 4 years of high school. It was just my mom. My dad was really a part of my sister's life and her mental health, but wasn't a part of mine. I already told you guys that he wasn't there for me with my anxiety or anything. So there was many years where him and I didn't talk. So now let's come back. I was like, okay, like, I owe this to my family. I owe it to my father. I owe it to anyone. I let my dad move in with us. My dad is someone who is now that I've kind of researched everything, he's a narcissist. And I hope I pronounced that right. But everything to him, he's the victim. He's the victim in every single story. Everyone else is a villain. My brother's a villain. My mom's a villain. My other sister's a villain. My other sister's a villain. My other brother's a villain. I mean, his siblings are the villains. I mean, his employer. I mean, everyone is a villain in his story. But he's been trying to say he's changed, and he was in the hospital like 5 years ago, and since then he kept saying no, he's like a born again, and he's realized, and he just wants his children in his life. Mind you, I'm the only child that at this point that he was talking to out of 5 kids. So I felt bad. I felt like I had to be there for him. I felt like I had to be there to support him emotionally. When he moved in with us, he was retired. So he didn't have a job. He doesn't know anyone here besides me and my husband. He didn't have anything. He had a car, but that was it. Like literally that was it. So I felt bad, and my husband and I would take him everywhere. We'd go to Disneyland. I mean, we would take him to restaurants. We would take him, I mean, like shopping. I mean, literally everywhere. I felt so horrible because he was home all the time. He was taking care of the girls. But I just felt bad. Well, he and I would fight. And I remember calling my mom and just being crying hysterical and just be like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know what to do. One part of me is telling me, no, you have to do it. Like, he's your father. You need to suck it up. Like, you know, you're the only child who hasn't had a parent in a while. Like, you just have to do this for them, for him or your family. Other side of me is like, this is taking me back to a dark place. This is deja vu of what I went through as a child or in high school. This is deja vu. This is bad memories. This is bringing back everything I've been working so hard to move on from. He's reminding me of that. And when I say my dad and I would fight, I mean we would yell and scream on top of our lungs. Mind you, Sean and I, my husband, we don't fight, because that's something I've been trying not to do for the 12 years I've been away from home. I refuse to fight with anyone. I refuse to argue with anyone. I refuse to have any negative energy in my home. I will not allow it. And here I am. I let this man in my home who is literally a dark cloud. And yes, he might try to be nicer, but at the end of the day, he is who he is. So him and I fought for like a year, right? I mean, it was just miserable. I remember going to work and I'd be crying, and my manager would be like, what's wrong? I'm like, my dad again, my dad. And it was causing, you know, issues with my marriage because, for the obvious reasons, I'm not gonna go into details of that. But, and then now let's move to January of this year, New Year's Eve. I was really sick. I told you, we went to multiple times. Then I got really freaking sick in the beginning of the year, where I probably had COVID. I mean, like, I was deathly sick in the bed. I couldn't do anything. I had a fever. I mean, like everything in the world. And I don't get the flu, so I know it wasn't that. And I was trying to keep my relationship with my dad. And I want him to move out, right? I've been talking about this. I was like, I need to find a way to kick him out because he's killing me, like literally killing me. But I didn't want to mess the relationship up. But you can't talk to my dad. He's someone you can't talk to. He doesn't talk. He fights. He argues. He yells. Like he doesn't know how to have a conversation, because once again, everyone's a villain. And long story short, I'm not going to go into details as to what happened. My dad ended up moving out beginning of this year in January, and pretty much disowned me. Told me he never wants to hear from me again. Doesn't give a fuck about me. He moved back to Fresno and pretty much slandered my name to all his family, and changed his number. Didn't want me or my siblings to get a hold of him. But once again, long story short, the reason why I brought up my father is because I always want to try to fix him. I wanted to fix us. I wanted to fix this family. I wanted to fix everything that's been broken my entire life. And I couldn't fix it because he only cared for himself. He no matter how many times he tried to say that he cared about us, he didn't. Sorry, I want to move on from that. So like I said, I had already gone to 2 people who were venting to me about their life, and then I had to deal with my dad's situation, and then this pandemic happened, and then it's just literally been snowballing out of control. And this is why I've been so emotional, and every day I'm depressed, and every day I'm crying, and every day I'm overwhelmed because I feel like I haven't gotten a break. But yeah, so next I do want to talk about the narcissist part. So when I'm reading about being an empath, that's something that was like literally I read over and over and over again, that empaths are attracted to narcissists. And as I'm reading this, I'm like trying to understand why, and of course trying to fix people. And I do that a lot. I have an ex-boyfriend, and he and I didn't even date very long, probably a year, and it was in high school. Anyway, he's been in my life. He's been in and out of my life since then, since 2003 when I graduated high school and when him and I first broke up. And it's crazy when I'm reading this about, empaths trying to help people and what narcissists do to us. It just kind of like red flagged or allured to me, and like, oh my God, this is literally what I've been going through with this ex-boyfriend pretty much my entire life. And friends, I have a friend, I'm gonna be honest right now, who I honestly think he's a narcissist. And the reason being because this person, only thinks about themselves. And it's funny because when I was reading stuff, it said narcissists will make you feel good in the beginning, right? They'll make you feel like you're so important and you're everything that matters. And this is friendships and relationships, all of the above. And then when you become too emotional, they're the ones who are saying like, oh, you're too emotional, or you're too much, or you're too sensitive. And it's because they're running away from their issues. But it like started like red flagging, like, oh my God, like, you're right. I do attract these people. I do attract the people who need the fixing, who are damaged or who are broken. And it's not fair to me because I feel like I'm broken, I'm damaged. When I tell my husband that, he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I feel like I am. But like it all started making sense, and all my energy goes to them. And when I'm reading all about this, it's saying like, beware, be careful of these humans who are like this, because they try to take my energy away. And like I said, I have a friendship right now. I know I shouldn't even say friendship. I don't even know what it is, where this person's like pulling my fucking energy out, and I'm allowing it. But it's hard not to, because I want to fix it. I want to be there. I want to be supportive. I want to help them. I want to make them see that life is better, that there is rainbows and sunshine and, trolls in the world. And it's not just dark and gloom and bitterness or whatever it is. And it sucks because I get sucked into that, and I get sucked into them. And you can see I'm like racing. Let's take a tea break. Yeah, okay, drink some tea. Perfect. But yeah, so it's something that I'm learning, I'm reading on, I'm trying to get better. You gotta think about it. These are all old habits I have that comes to mind. I've had my dad, my ex-boyfriend, I have friends, and I'm gonna be honest, they're all men. I know that they're not all having to be men, but crazy thing is, I was talking to my mom, and she was saying how she doesn't understand why I need validation and why I need attention and all these things. And it's funny because I had just talked to my sister a few days before that, and I was talking to her, and I was like, it's crazy. Like, I feel like people would think I had like daddy issues because of the way I am. And she's like, yeah, but we don't. And I was like, no, I don't. Like, yeah, I have issues with my dad, but I don't have daddy issues. But when I was talking to my mom she called me back a few days later after that conversation. And she was like, so I kind of think I figured it out. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, why you need validation from men, why you need attention from men. And I was like, okay, like, what is it? So when I was born, my dad didn't want me. He wanted a boy. And my mom, with all three of us, she never found the sex of her children until we were born. So my dad was hoping to have another boy. I'm born. Woohoo, surprise, I'm a female. My dad resented me, didn't really love me when I was born. And my mom was like, I think that's why. I think you've been trying to prove yourself to men that you're worthy. And sorry, I didn't think I was gonna cry in this one, but when she said that to me, I was like, oh my God, like, you're right. I guess I do have daddy issues, even when I was a baby, like, because I know, like, my dad never really gave me attention as much when I was a kid. I mean, he heard me in high school. He wasn't at any of my dance recitals, any of my performances, any of my award shows, any of my football games, basketball games that I cheered at, like, literally nothing. And I feel like him moving in with me was only because I was the only child left. But when my mom said that, I was like, I think you're right. I do need validation that I'm worthy to men, and not just to my husband, to all men in my life, in the workplace, friendships, gay, straight. It's very easy for me to cut women off. If they fuck with me, you're fucking done. Snip, snip. Out of my life. I don't turn back. I don't cry. I'm not hurting. I am literally done with females. But if a man hurts me and a man walks out of my life, or a man screws me over, or whatever it does, I can't do that. I can't. I cry. I act as if it's a breakup every fucking time. Like I said, gay or straight, I'm like, it's ridiculous, and I've never understood why. But now it all makes sense. I know I kind of went on a different tangent besides being an empath, but maybe it is all included. I don't really know. And I know I'm open up to all of you more than I thought I was going to. But it makes sense. But, okay, let's move on. So I don't want to get stuck in there. Here's a little quote that I had found when I was researching. It said, or not a quote, but like whatever, a fact. An empath doesn't just feel for someone, they feel with someone. And one of the things I keep reading is why empaths were exhausted, we're tired, we have to recharge. And I've been saying this for years. If you've ever been with me at work in my new position, we always joke around saying that I needed to get a sofa or like a love seat by my desk, because people would always come to me and talk to me and tell me about their whole entire life story and everything that was going on. I remember I asked my senior manager, I was like, hey, like, can I get like a sofa like right by my desk? And she she was like, Tiara, this is not a Tiara therapy session. If people want you to be their therapist, they're gonna have to take you out to a restaurant or a bar and go buy you a drink, and then you guys can have your venting session there. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't get my sofa. They gave me like 2 fold-up chairs instead. But that's why every time I was done with work, I was mentally and emotionally drained more than just the workload. Like, the workload's its own issue, it's its own thing, you know, whatever. But when it came to my emotions and being drained, it was because I literally would have so many people come talk to me about everything and anything. And don't get me wrong, I love it. Like, that's what I love. I love being able to be there for people. I love listening to people's stories and their history and their whatever, their concerns, their problems. I love that. But it takes a toll on me, and now everything makes sense. Why? Because I take their energy. I soak it all up. I'm, you know, crying with them. I'm upset with them. I'm angry with them. I'm feeling everything that they're feeling, every emotion that they're feeling. which is pretty crazy. So I do have a lot of notes here. Don't look at my bad writing. I'm not going to go over all of it with you guys. I'm actually going to finish right now because I talked a lot more than I anticipating talking about. And I'm already over my time, but yeah, so if you look up being an empath, it's crazy. It says on, I think, like the dictionary or whatever, so like paranormal abilities that we sense things, right? My intuition's hella strong, which I've known my entire life, but I thought I got that from my mom. Intuition, right? We know, we sense things, we feel things. We love being near water, and which is crazy because you guys know, like, I'm always at a pool. I love being in the water. Like, pools are like my life. Which was funny. I thought that was crazy. The sensitivity with your like touch and sense and smell. I don't know if I said that already, but all of that, like just little things like that. So I'm not too sensitive. So fuck everyone who's ever said I'm too sensitive, because I am not. Now everything makes sense, and you better believe it. I'm gonna be using this gift because it's a gift. Being an empath is literally a gift. It's not a curse. It's not a burden to have. I am so proud of being where I'm at and having this. I will use it as much as I can to help everyone, but I think my husband's home and the girls are gonna be making a lot of noise. But just want to let you know, next week I will be talking about infertility. Fun thing is, I will be having my husband Sean a part of it, so he will be having the discussion with me, which is exciting. If any of you have anything you guys want to talk about and be a part of, please let me know. I would love to have guest speakers, guest visitors, whatever it is. But anyway, thank you so much for being a part of chapter 7, Empath. See you next week.